Good morning again. I read something through Facebook, and I think that's very well saying, and I'd like to share with all of you. There is always something you are grateful for. No matter how bad day you started, no matter what experienced, and then no matter you're happy or not happy, you can always find something you are grateful for. I can give you 5 right now, instantly. I'm grateful for all of you to attend our meeting. You are seriously with our industry, and you are waiting to learn every single small things, and you appreciate every single opportunities to learn. Number 2, I'm grateful for all our affiliates to be here to support us, to help us to have a smoothly transaction, and always participate with our activities here. And then I hope all of you, when you have a chance, and use their services to give back our gratitude. Number 3, I'm very grateful for our realtors, our leaders, who are waiting and then actually doing to donate very high level of Realtor Action Fund. I'd really like to give them another chance to be recognized in our meeting. Other realtor who donated to up to NAR, Golden R, that's initially start from 5,000, and if you joined Present Circle, that's another 2,000, so 7,000 to start. As an NAR Golden R Realtor Action Fund, please stand up to be recognized. Tom, are you? Okay. Our immediate past president, Susie Duncan Soto, she joined the Golden R and Present Circle inspired by her, so I joined. So I am current Golden R with Present Circle, and I believe Tom Jr. also Golden R with Present Circle, and I'm very grateful for all these people. And then we have NAR Crystal R. Please stand to be recognized. That starts with initially 2,500. We probably not have the Crystal R. How about NAR Sterling R? That starts from 1,000 annually. Please stand up to be recognized. So Sandy, our incoming president, and then Lieberg, our past president, and then also actively involved with NAR and CER, of course. How about California Silver Bear, that 449 annually? I knew we have a few, maybe they're not in the room. You also the Silver Bear. Thank you, Ian. And we also have the true cost of doing business, that is 148 annually.
You do.
Thank you. And I think we have the minimum cost of doing business, that is 49 yearly. I think we have some of them. Please stand to be recognized. Thank you. That's my most gratitude this morning. And that I thank you to few of you. After last Thursday, I pitched and then they joined. Either from the annual, the introduction level and the minimum level. And then I'm ready to start my lemon butter, but I need 10 more. I need 10 more new contributors. And then I can start my first batch of lemon butter this year, which filled my love and inspiration. So if you are inspired to become a new contributor, the $20 is the introductory level. I think, $20 is, everyone afforded. And if you feel you can do more, then $49 is the minimum cost of doing business annually, a year. If you think, that's our responsibility to fight, to donate, to have someone to deal the issues that we have on our behalf, so you can focus on doing your business, and someone else can have the money, have the time, knowledge, profession to fight for us. Just think about if one day, because these have been ongoing issues, if one day the legislature passed a bill that they will tax on all services, and think about yourself. Our business is nothing but services. As a realtor, and all transactions surrounded with services, your inspection, escrow, title, repairs, all these are services. So if you think all these be taxed, and then how much you will lose in your pocket. So all our issues in our industry actually directly connected to our benefit. And think about ultimately, all these costs will go to who? Your clients, right? Your clients will pay more eventually. So the real estate issues directly to us and directly to your clients. And then nowadays, no fight can be done without money. We as a single person, we have very limited power to deal all these. But if everybody added together, our joint force will be very, very strong. We have 200,000 realtors in California. But now, there's only small little percentage people contribute for this cause. And I think we all should be passionate and willing to do our part. Just by donating a very limited, small amount of money, then added together, we can achieve more, be more stronger. So we have all these forms at the front desk, and please grab one and start to be the contributor for your own benefit and your clients. So remember, I need 10 more people to start my first batch of lemon butter, which is very delicious. Can be used on toasts, bagels, cheesecakes, ice cream. All right, I'd like to use some of my message time to Lee, which is our government affairs directors, to report on their meeting with the supervisor yesterday. Thank you, and happy Father's Day.
Thank you, Helen. All right. Nick, thank you for going with me yesterday. I know there were many of you in the room that offered to go down to the LA County Board of Supervisors to the Tenant Protections hearing. And we kind of called off the dogs because we feel that they will be better used at a later time. So what's going on right now, and I've been updating you for the last few weeks, is they've got a task force assigned. It's 2 members per county supervisor, and the makeup of this task force is heavily skewed in the tenant's favor. So they call it the Tenant Protection Working Group. It's a good reason that they don't call it the Landlord Protection Working Group, because they really don't care about landlords or property owners' rights. They're very quick to trample over those rights. 3 of the people on the board, 3 of the 7, have a vested interest in housing issues, homeless shelters, nonprofits, and they throw around words like housing justice. It's really frustrating to go and see these things. One of our big concerns or issues is not that there isn't a problem. We know there's a problem. We know there's a housing problem. And we also know the solution. The solution is supply. We need more housing. But charging less for the same amount of housing isn't going to solve the problems. And if what they're talking about doing is implementing rent control in the unincorporated areas of LA County, well, if rent control works so well, why don't these people from LA County just move to LA? Because LA's had it for 20 years. The reason they don't move to LA is because it doesn't work. It has not brought down housing. It has not produced any more housing. And if these people are successful, they'll have probably the tightest, strictest rent control in the country. It will affect, it will probably have lower permitted increases. One of the commissioners yesterday, if you're familiar with LA, the city of LA, it's a 3 to 5% increase each year, and it depends on the CPI. They want the floor to be 0%. So, in a way, the floor already is 0% because any landlord can choose not to raise their rent on a given year. And sometimes market conditions dictate that you can't increase the rent. But they're not going to protect us on the other end when inflation goes up to 6-7%. So yesterday we heard a presentation from the city of LA. They focused on tenant protection, habitability, the inspections, the REAP program, rent stabilization, and a new one that they just implemented, which is a rent registry, which is mandatory this year. They did kind of a soft rollout last year, but now it's mandatory. Then they talked about fair economic return. And basically what they're saying is, what is fair return to a developer? And they don't want the developers to get rich, but they want to see the developers get some compensation. Well, it's a very difficult thing to quantify because it has to do with market returns on investment, what the bonds are paying, what they're paying for their money. You can't just say, okay, a developer is entitled to 5% and that's it, or 7% and that's it. because there's times when other investment vehicles are more attractive, and they would never develop. So anyways, that fell on deaf ears as well. But the next topic was eviction defense, and of course one of the commissioners is an attorney who represents tenants, and they think that there ought to be a mechanism to pay for counsel to defend tenants that are being evicted. She threw out some statistics that I think were terribly misleading. One of them was that when 50% of the cases that are represented are dropped. And she said that to imply that because they didn't have a reason to evict them, and they were taking advantage of them because they didn't have representation. Well, the reality of the matter is over 90% of these cases are settled. So when they get an attorney and then they settle, then the case is dropped. That's probably a good thing for the tenant, but they're trying to twist it as though these tenants are being taken advantage of. One of the ironies is as I walked to my car after leaving the meeting, I had two attorneys hand me their card because I walked by the courthouse on Hill that has all the cases. All right. So we've put together a coalition, and it's got about 20 associations in it. And some of it's very difficult to get realtors on the same page. Anybody who's been involved and gone to CAR or NAR knows that. Realtors are very active people. We're very opinionated. We have our ideas of how things should be done. And so to get a consensus amongst realtors is very difficult. But here's what we've tried to get a consensus on: a voucher program. Okay, I think I've explained this before, but if you qualify for food subsidies, those food subsidies come from the government. You don't go to the market and get free food at the expense of the grocer, right? So why should they get free housing at the expense of a mom and pop landlord, or subsidized housing at the expense of a landlord who's depending on that for their retirement? Maybe they've got 2 or 3, 4 units. So we're supporting a voucher system. Would be similar to Section 8, but we think that Section 8 can be greatly improved upon. Just cause eviction. This is probably one of the more controversial ones amongst realtors, because just cause eviction says that you can take over the use of the unit, but you have to compensate them. So you probably are going to end up paying a couple months' rent and moving expenses. In LA now, it's up to $20,000.
Oh my God.
per unit. Yeah. So and that was on the high end. That one of the presentations yesterday had statistics from San Francisco, San Jose, Santa Monica, LA, and all the major rent control areas in California. It was pretty interesting. So rent stabilization, it has been proven over and over by different economic studies to not work. Yet it is still the kind of the knee-jerk reaction or response by many political leaders that this is what we need to keep people in their housing. Another thing we support is education, both on the tenant side and the landlord side. We find a lot of violations amongst the smaller owner-operators, the mom and pops, as we call them. And it's really a lack of education, we feel. We don't think it's the intent, but the larger landlords, if you have a company and you're running several hundred units, then you have all the systems in place to monitor things, repair things, and make sure that the habitability issues are addressed. And then there's targeted relocation expenses. So one of the other issues that we as a coalition have with rent control is, well, there was a case in San Francisco. A gentleman was going to law school, signed a lease in the city, and completed law school, stayed in his lease, practiced law, stayed in his lease, became a judge. So now he's making probably $200,000 a year, but he's protected by his rent control. So one of the things that we're advocating is, first of all, who are we trying to help? And then let's target it to help those people. But this across the board, so you could easily have somebody who's on a fixed income, retired, depends on that unit for their well-being, subsidizing somebody who has a six-figure income. So there's a lot of injustices. So again, we're trying to target some of those things. But if you have questions, let me know. I think it's going to be probably about 4 months before we really try to rally the troops. And we felt that it's better to rally the troops with the county supervisors. They're more responsive. First of all, they're elected. So they have a reason to respond to their constituents, as where the commissioners are not elected. They don't have as much of a conflict of interest or an agenda as the commissioners do, and we think that they'll be more receptive to our arguments. So, are there any questions? I'd be happy to field any questions. But with that, all right. Thank you, Helen.